All right, good morning, everyone. This is the T Podcast. We got a great episode for you today. I say that every single time because it's always a great episode. I would not do these if they were not going to be great episodes. Today we have a fellow Leadership 36 classmate, Eli Ramirez, with us. He's also a financial advisor. We're going to be talking with him about his journey from Lacoste, Texas, and landing in Lafayette. That story and all that good stuff coming up in just a second, so sit back. And real quick, so the T Podcast is presented by Chase Group Construction. Chase Group takes the lead and becomes your one source for the entire design build process. They have a diverse portfolio of projects that range from medical to popular restaurants to multi-unit shopping center developments. You can check out their website, chasegroupconstruction.com, and they're great local people. They obviously sponsored the podcast, so they are definitely great to us, and they have been sponsoring Developing Lafayette for a while now. So check them out if you're looking to build a new business, or renovate a space for your business. They are the go-to people in town. They are great. They built the Fat Pats in Broussard and Bro Bridge. So if you've ever been there, you know their work. So today we're going to be talking with Eli. If you joined us at the very second that we went live, which you probably didn't. So Eli is a non-native Boomerang is what we kind of established today. What that means is he's from Lacoste, Texas, and came to Lafayette for school, left Lafayette, and then moved back to Lafayette. So I don't know the official term. We're just going to be calling that a non-native Boomerang because typically a Boomerang is somebody who's native, moves away, it comes back. So he boomeranged back to your hometown and then just swung back around.
That's right.
That's crazy. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and the journey that Eli took to ultimately land in Lafayette.
Yeah, well, it's pretty boring, actually.
No, it's everybody's story.
You brought in the most boring guy you could. So it's, graduating from high school. It's, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. And I've always loved San Antonio and the San Antonio area. So Lacoste is west of San Antonio. And, I stayed there after high school for a year or two and still trying to figure out what I was going to do. But eventually I figured out that, hey, I just need something else, something different.
Yeah.
And what was that like? And so my best friend from high school, his mom was our high school counselor. They have family in New Iberia and Sulphur. And so one of the things that she asked was, okay, I know that you're a native Texan, you carry that with you through and through, but if you had to envision yourself outside of Texas, where is it? I don't really know. I still wanted to stay close to home. And she said, well, why not Louisiana? And so we started having that conversation and came for a visit, stepped onto campus and absolutely loved it and loved the food, loved the people, and just said, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm coming to Lafayette. And I actually didn't even know I was going to be attending UL until it started right up in that deadline where it's like, okay, school's starting in like 2 weeks. I got to decide. And then I woke up one morning and said, hey, I'm going to Lafayette and let's get moving. So that's kind of how it all ended up with me coming here. And then from there, graduated. And then, of course, it's what do I do from here? And there was no, at the time, perceived benefit of staying here in Lafayette, right? So I'm like, okay, well, job market, I don't really know where it's at here. I always wanted to be in finance, and I want to go back home to Texas. And ended up doing that and, was dating a Cajun girl. And, that old story, brought her to Texas, and she brought me right back. So so I am part of a group, a pretty big group in Lafayette where, we come marry a Cajun girl and we end up back here anyways. So
that seems to be the story that typically grabs anybody who's a non-native to Lafayette that keeps them here. Whether typically, from what I've seen, it's men who moved here, found a Cajun girl. The Cajun girls don't leave the family.
No.
They stay. But every once in a while, it's a woman that's not from here moves here, finds a man, and then the man stays here. And I want to say that it can't be all relationship based. I mean, if you want to consider a relationship, it's with food.
Right.
I think the food has a relationship for people. So to leave the food would be an issue for a lot. So Lacoste, Texas. How big is Lacoste, Texas, compared to Lafayette?
Oh gosh, it's minuscule. So I want to say I guess when I graduated or left there, population was about 1,200.
Okay, so that's not that. I mean, that's kind of like Youngsville a few years ago. Youngsville, I think, is a little over 14,000, maybe hovering around the 19,000 population mark.
I'm saying 1,200.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, not 19. Oh, wow. I totally misheard that number. So you're talking about really small.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Forget everything I just said there.
Hey, we would be happy to be compared to Youngsville.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're considered a town there, though, right?
We are. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, there's two towns that kind of join up, I guess a couple now that go to the same high school. But yeah, it's Lacoste, and then just north of us is Castroville, Texas, and that's right along Highway 90. I'd say, probably 20 miles west of the city.
Wow. Okay. And so, how far is San Antonio from Lacoste?
Oh, it's 20-25 minute drive.
So you guys would go to San Antonio a good bit?
Oh yeah.
Yep. So is that like the big town next, like that? Because for example, for us, I lived an hour away from Lafayette, and I lived 30 minutes away from Alexandria. Our normal routine days out were usually at Alexandria. Like every other weekend or so, we'd go to Alexandria, go eat at the normal chain place. Which, look, not knocking it, I like Chili's, but that's where we would go. Plus, you could feed a family pretty good there. And then our big days out were Lafayette, because it was just a little bit farther. So right. Is that kind of how San Antonio was, or was it more frequent or less frequent? What was that like?
Yeah, so it's gosh, and now I'm trying to think. We did go there quite a bit, but we weren't people that really ate out. We ate at home. It was kind of similar to here, it was more family oriented, right? Okay. So we wanted to stay local. We had a couple of local grocery stores back in the day, and but then we finally got a big chain in HEB that went to Lytle, which is kind of I don't know, maybe 10 miles south of us. But that was later in my high school years that HEB finally got there. So, but before, we were driving into San Antonio at least 30 minutes to go grocery shopping. So,
okay,
yeah.
HEB, man. A lot of people are hoping for HEB here. It's a big deal. I've never been to HEB, but I hear it's amazing.
Well, I keep on hearing Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
So
same. I've never been to Trader Joe's either. So it's either way, I'm familiar with, the Winn-Dixies, the Super Ones. I love Super One. But there's a grocery store aficionado that I know that follows us, and he is a champion for HEB. He messages HEB all the time, hey, y'all need to come to Louisiana. And apparently there was an HEB in Louisiana a long time ago, but I'm not sure what happened with that, but it's probably before my time.
Did I know that?
Yeah, I mean, that's according to what I've been told. I could be wrong, or the person could be wrong, but I think he'd be right. So at what age did you move from Lacoste to Lafayette the first time?
Oh, gosh, would that have been 20? Yeah, I think age 20.
Okay.
I never tried crawfish, never, Louisiana cuisine was not what I grew up on. But it was exciting to be here and have access to that and, try new things. So the first thing coming here that I would always ask people is, and I still do, is, kind of show me your Lafayette. What do you do? What do you do for fun? I'm going to follow your lead.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got introduced to a lot of different things around Lafayette and the surrounding areas, particularly, hey, go to the Frog Festival in college. Okay, we'll go out there. The Gumbo Festival in New Iberia. Okay, we'll do that too. Go to Morgan City. Okay, we'll do that. So it's, essentially being a yes man, right? Just following leads for new experiences. And that's how I looked at it coming to a new state.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm ultimately trying to drill down here is at what point, because if you were around 20 years old, you've lived all your life in one area up to that point. Were you born and raised in that area?
Yes, San Antonio. I was born in San Antonio. It was, I guess, the closest hospital at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's your roots.
It is.
And to be plucked out of your area, or to pluck yourself out of an area and to reroute yourself, it's a big deal. Like, was it weird to do that? I mean, obviously you moved here. You said you didn't realize you were going to go to school here at first, or you didn't know if you were going to go to school here first, and then you moved back. But like what really were you feeling, or like what was the thought process of like moving away? Like, did you just want more opportunity? Like, or why not San Antonio?
It was just something new. So at the very foundation of it, it was, I knew San Antonio. Obviously, that's kind of that is my culture. You know, I've been exposed to it. I just wanted something different, right? So it was, and that's where Lafayette came in terms of food, in terms of more diversity in culture-wise. It was vastly different than what I was exposed to. And so that was the lure of initially coming here. Once I got here, then you start meeting the people, and it's like, okay, so it's kind of like home in the sense of how people interact and, holding doors for each other, just greeting each other in the morning, doing the little things where you get that hospitality. So that was at least a little bit comforting, where I can go up, and maybe that's a little bit of my personality as well, but I can go up and just start a conversation with anybody. But it kind of felt like home a little bit, just with a different flair.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated to kind of the more you said that Lafayette was more culturally diverse than your hometown.
Right.
People here would hear that and think, how?
Well, you say how, but, I mean, obviously the big cities, right? When I left UL and moved to Houston, that's a whole nother animal. But when you're talking about Lacoste and that Castroville area, right? So the way that started is, I guess Lacoste has been around since the late 1800s, similar to Castroville, but it was Alsatian settlers who settled the area. So when I went to, even going up to high school, there were Hispanic families, there were white families, there was one black family that I went to school with. The only reason why we had the black family there was because we had the Air Force Base right there on the west side of San Antonio. That family had just kind of moved out to that area. Now it's getting better, but that's who I grew up with, right? It was just kind of two cultures, and that was it. And so it was really interesting coming here and getting exposed to a lot of other different cultures. And then even after leaving UL and going to Houston, now you just kind of get everybody there, right? Yeah. So it was really cool, to see Katy Asian Town, kind of go up when we were there. So you got exposed to, the cuisine and more of the culture. You pick a culture, it's there in Houston, right?
Right.
So it's, but yeah, it's, at least you have more culture here, or at least access to it.
Yeah, so I love that.
Remember, a town of 1,200, how much culture are you going to get, right?
And is it mostly Hispanic?
Mostly white.
Mostly white, really?
Mostly white. Oh. It wasn't until, of course, you got into San Antonio or closer to it that it was more Hispanic.
Gotcha. Interesting. So obviously, it sounds like you're Hispanic native because your last name. All right, is your family mixed, or is it like describe your family origins, I guess? Yeah,
so my dad was born in Mexico. Actually became a citizen last year.
Nice.
So it's that was awesome. We're
I bet
very excited for him. My mom was born in Texas.
Okay.
And so her side of the family, everybody's basically from Mexico and just came here at different times.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, well, cool. We'll continue our conversation in a second. I got my sponsors I need to mention here. So our sponsor we mentioned, Chase Group. You heard about them. We also have the Music Academy of Acadiana. Acadiana's top choice for music lessons, basically with classes in piano, guitar, voice, drums, violin, saxophone, flute, and audio production. Their experienced instructors cater to students of all ages and musical styles. So if you want to learn music, that is the place to go. Their graduates have excelled in college and major music competitions and even made it on popular TV shows like American Idol and The Voice. They're founded by UL Lafayette Music School graduate Tim Benson. They've won national recognition and are consistently voted as a top music school since 2016. Their goal is to make music lessons fun, educational, and to help foster the next generation of creative thinkers. You can check them out at their website, musicacademyacadiana.com. And of course, Facebook, Instagram, all those lovely places. And then we have a new sponsor. This is Electronic Protection Systems. You probably have seen these signs in and around town. They are a company with over 200 years of industry experience, and I think they've been in the community for probably close to 20, 30 years. I'm still working on the details to fine-tune all that, but they partnered with us. So basically, we moved into a new house last year, and they drove up and said, "Hey, we see you're a new resident. Do you need a security system?" I was like, "Well, I'm kind of using this company, but I'm looking to get out of them." And so they said, "Well, look, this is what we'll do. We don't have any contracts." I'm like, "No contracts?" I'm like, "Sounds good already." And they were also cheaper on the monitoring side. So we got connected with them, started using them, and then a few months later, they reached out and said, "Hey, we also got into doing water conditioning." And they said, obviously you've been a customer with us. Would you like to get your water tested, to see if it's high quality? I said, sure. So they came in, tested my water. It was really hard, lots of chlorine and other chemicals. And they did some other tests that just showed me that my water could be better. And so we got a water conditioning unit. And it feels like I'm taking a bath in what I would describe as butter water. It's like the water feels silky smooth. It's so cool. So anyway, we do have a link that's going to be in our caption after the video is over, that if you want to learn more about any security systems through them or water conditioning systems, we're going to have a link for you. And I will work to shorten this ad up, this promotion, but this is their introduction. And so hopefully I can fine tune that with them. But yeah, check them out. They're a local company. They're not any of these other big guys, I won't name them, but you know who I'm talking about. So great group of people too. And so check them out, Electronic Protection Systems. Their website is eps-online.com, and their phone number is 337-232-2487. All right. So yes, if that was long, forgive me. We're going to work on that.
So that's actually a nice service. We had that in Houston, the reverse osmosis and all that. Yeah, I need to go use that link.
Yeah,
water is hard in Lafayette.
Look, I'll send you the link. Hey, and the full disclosure, anybody who uses that link, Developing Lafayette will get a little kick out of it, a little referral bonus. So that is part of the deal there. So just so you know, we're not hiding anything. We're making money here. So, but also I use the stuff. So it worked out. Anyway, yeah, my water's, it's nice. And it comes with a water filter at your sink.
Oh yeah,
they mount it, and it's super clean. I'm spoiled now, and I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it because I have to pay for the unit, and the unit was not provided for me free. I wish that would have been the case with this deal. Anyway, get off the soapbox there. Great companies. So Eli, you moved to Lafayette. You went to school here, then you moved back. Why?
Well, just like I said earlier, I just wasn't sure where, in the workforce here in Lafayette, I was going to fit in. And the perception back then was that I had more opportunity back in Texas, right? So I still had all my contacts back there. I had my degree now in hand, and I can go and kind of tap into that and say,
it was a comfort zone for you.
Right, it's comfort as well. But it was that's where I really want to live, right, for the rest of my life. And, if we've had a couple conversations, and I think some people in the class have already pegged me as that typical Texan, right? It's always well, in Texas, this is what we do, right? So, it's, but yeah, so that's how I always felt. There was never in my mind, I was never going to live in Louisiana. I've done my time in Louisiana. I want to go home. But yeah, God had other plans for me.
Yeah, I'm loving the journey, man. So you moved back to Lafayette. What year did you move back?
When after college?
Yeah, so you okay? So after college, you moved back to Lacoste. What year was that?
Well, yeah. So that was oh gosh, 2012.
Okay, and then that's when you moved back. And then when did you move back to Lafayette?
Last year, June 26th of last year.
Wow, God, that's
So this
okay.
year has been nuts.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, so initially it was, after college moved back to Lacoste, and then I was, of course had the girlfriend here in Lafayette. So we were kind of talking back and forth, and I was trying to, there were times where I tried to get her to move to San Antonio. That was never going to happen. So we ended up in Houston. It was kind of like, okay, well, done my time in Louisiana, but she didn't want to go all the way to San Antonio. Let's just pick Houston, a good midpoint.
Yeah, good midpoint.
Yeah, so at the time I was working for Chase, so it was an easy transfer over to the Houston market. And so we moved there, and I think I'm going to say it was a day after we moved in. I think I remember this pretty clearly, that Lily pretty much came in and said, hey, so when do I get to go back to Lafayette? I'm going to say, she may disagree with me, but I'm pretty sure it was the day after she moved that she was already talking about moving back to Lafayette.
God, you know what? It's hard to be plucked out of this area. And that's why we have the boomerangs that we do have that are from native to Lafayette move away to explore other possibilities, to explore themselves. They're young. They're just looking to get out, and maybe it's for work. And then ultimately, whether it's for family, for food, or just overall quality of life, they end up moving back. And that's a big story that's going around right now within the news sphere here is what is bringing people back, and how do we get more boomerangs back to Lafayette? And I think there's even consideration, other towns are doing this, where there's a $10,000 not jackpot, but like it feels like it, a $10,000 pool of money, to where if you move back to Lafayette for work to live here, they will. I'm pretty sure there's like stipulations. You have to have like a certain amount of years that you commit to staying, and I could be wrong on that, but offering $10,000 for people to move back and like build their careers here.
I've never heard that before. I don't know. On the surface, I don't think it's a great idea. I think Lafayette and the surrounding areas have enough incentive to say, people want to move here without being incentivized monetarily. So it's, all the things that are going on around town. I mean, when we moved back, it was all, I didn't really know Youngsville all that well, or Broussard, but the realtor that we were working with, she was awesome, by the way. We send her all over Acadiana. We looked at Arnaville, Sunset, where, Lily's from. We did look at Youngsville and Broussard, but ultimately we ended up almost, center of the city here in Lafayette. And, with everything from Muncus Park to downtown, maybe I need to get out to Youngsville a little bit more to see what's going on out there. But there's a lot happening and a lot of incentive. And yeah, going back to my point, I don't think that you need to incentivize people with $10,000 to say, hey, come here. We've got enough.
Dude, I agree. But obviously I would have to pull up the article, and I think it was The Current that published it. So if you want to read up on it, look up The Current. They'll have more information. But basically it was like, would you, and it was proposed as a question, would you move back, and I guess as if you had moved away, would you move back to this area for a $10,000 incentive? And other cities have done it and have seen success out of it. Now, I don't know what the parameters are for that, how to get the money. Is there a promise not to leave type of thing? I mean, honestly, if you live here for any length of time and have a good job, there's not much that you would have an issue with. I mean, sure, somebody can say, Lafayette has its issues. Every place has its issues. Some places are less culturally diverse than Lafayette. Some places are more culturally diverse than Lafayette. Houston, you can get any culture under the sun, pretty much. It's almost like a New York, and I think it's like the fourth largest metropolitan area in the United States.
Yeah.
So you can find everything you want there, on top of all the things you don't want. Lafayette specifically has a lower crime rate than every other city in the state of Louisiana, except for maybe Lake Charles has maybe a lower crime rate. But when we're talking about places that people actually want to move to, New Orleans is bad. Nobody wants to visit New Orleans right now. And then Baton Rouge is, a lot of people say it's comparable. I've never experienced any issues going to Baton Rouge, but I don't travel the whole area of Baton Rouge. But so from what I've seen is that Lafayette has a pretty great system of crime as far as like protection and the acts against it. So those things might be a benefit to people. But like, going back to you guys moving here, I mean, obviously your wife's from here and you're enjoying the area, it seems like.
Oh, yeah. We get out way more than we did when we were in Houston. In Houston, it's like, okay, well, let's do something. Well, we got to drive 30 minutes to go do it, right? And do we really want to do that or just relax at home? And, especially when I was driving 45 minutes to an hour into work, it's kind of like, I just want to stay home. And now it seems like we're on the go a lot. We're doing things with the kids, and it's a lot more, the livability is so much better here than what we were experiencing in Houston.
Yeah. So kind of going back to our leadership 36 class that we just got out of earlier this month, we talked about quality of life. So, and I know you had mentioned a few things. So that's what you're talking about is quality of life is, and I think a lot of people had agreed in this because we did like a little short survey in our class, was access. Quality of life is access to all the things that make living nice. And being in Houston, if it takes 30 to 45 minutes to get anywhere that you want to go, there's lack of quality there because you have to drive everywhere. And Houston is Lafayette too, but Houston is like a car city.
Right.
Like if you want to go to Topgolf, you got to drive. Because I know there's 2 locations, but you got to drive to both of them unless you live right next door. And if you live right next door to there, if you want to go to the Galleria, you got to drive another 40 minutes.
Right.
So it's a big city. I mean, it is what it is. Lafayette, while we're growing, it feels like, at least for me and my experiences here, I live in the northern part of the Lafayette Parish area and in Carencro, and I can get to the south side of Lafayette within 30 minutes. Like that's like traveling the whole parish pretty much.
Right.
And in Houston, you can barely make it out of the little quadrant of Houston in that amount of time.
Yeah. So that was interesting because when we would come back, and I hear people talk about, oh, I live in Youngsville, I don't want to drive all the way to Lafayette or vice versa, right? It's too far. Just perception-wise for us, that's right down the road. And we would come in to visit, we'd be in Sunset, and Lily would say, gosh, since we're here, I really like Cajun snow. Let's just go real quick. We'll come, get a snow cone and go back, and we'd make little trips like that. And most people were like, you guys are idiots. But it was like, we weren't getting that over there. It's kind of like, kind of the Lafayette flair of, well, we're here. We don't care how far we have to drive because we want to experience it. And I think that living in Houston, yes, it was tough to go places, to go do things and multiple things. Coming here, it's like, oh no, that's like right down the road. I'm not worried about that. Let's go do it. So access to me, that conversation of access just doesn't really exist because if I really want to do it, I'm just going to get in the car and go do it.
Right.
So it's
so what do you define quality of life? I mean, if we're going to go back to our class, I know it was a long day. There was a lot of discussion, but to kind of revisit that, what was your thought process? What were you thinking? What did you consider to be a benefit or a definition of quality of life for you?
I've always seen that as experiences. So I mentioned that we don't really get out to Youngsville. I promise somebody is going to call me after this and say, oh my gosh, you come to Youngsville next weekend and we're probably going to do it. Right. So, which is what we want. And I think that leads into the quality of life conversation. And that's what we want for our kids too. New experiences into not only new foods, but new cultures, new everything, right? I mean, that's how you kind of build on your knowledge base and get different viewpoints. And so that's, I mean, even when we go back to Capitol Day, I got lost a couple of days. I didn't get lost. I made conscious decisions to stay in certain areas because what I found was, intriguing, and I got to talk to people, and knowing in the back of my mind that I'm going to be left at the Capitol. Oh, well.
You got lost in the experience.
Got lost in the experience, yeah. So it's, I mean, that's, again, I guess my personality of, hey, this is a new experience. I want to fully immerse myself in it and see what's going on. And yeah.
So you're a little over a year being back in Lafayette, which is crazy because you're in Leadership Lafayette. And typically Leadership Lafayette is for people that have been deep into the Lafayette culture, deep into wanting to improve the area, and are business owners or shakers and movers or just citizens that are part of a nonprofit or, whatever have you. You being here just over a year and you're doing this obviously says a lot. Like what led you to want to apply to go into the leadership program?
Well, it's two different things. One, from my job, I mean, right, as a financial advisor, you just want to meet as many people as you can and, kind of tell your story, right? But on the other hand, we're in a brand new spot, and it goes back to those experiences of, hey, show me what your Lafayette looks like, right? And I'll just tag along, and I get to experience something new. So I actually started with Intro Lafayette. I drove in from Houston to do Intro Lafayette.
Nice.
So I stayed with the in-laws for a couple days and did that. Once we moved here, I did Acadiana Onboard. And of course, just through marketing, they're like, hey, you've already done Intro, you've done Onboard. Why not Intro Lafayette? And I'm not Intro, Leadership Lafayette. And so I just applied, not actually thinking that I probably wasn't going to get in, because that was my thought process, is you got to kind of be already in the community. But I guess the nominating committee or whoever chose us thought that, I'd be a good addition to it. Yeah. So I'm grateful. It's been a blast and I enjoy it. But I'm glad that they, I guess, took a chance.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew this, and I know this only because I know someone who is or was on the board of Leadership Lafayette, that the process, the selection process, is double blind. So they strip or redact all of the information that could lead to who you are. They take it out of the selection process so that the people that are the selection committee that gets to decide what forms, what applications get selected to be a part of it. They're not picking people based off, I know this person. Like, this person's a politician. I definitely need to make friends and hook up with that person. So it's all double blind. So basically, the way you answer the question, because it was an application with several different questions, like how you would improve the community, what are different things that you would do, like how are you improving the community, and so how you answer them is kind of how they picked, which I thought was really cool, because I felt a little weird. My business partner, who's on the board, I was like, dude, it's going to look super weird that I apply and I get on because you're on the board. He goes, look, I never see any of that. I'm on the board, but I don't have any hand in the selection process. He said, look, I'm just nominating you. I want you to apply. And I said, okay. And so I did the whole application. It was I don't know if it was $25 or $50 to sign up to apply at least. And then seeing that it's I think it was a $2,200 tuition, I was like, this is never going to happen for me. Like, I don't know, like, this is crazy. And so I did the application, paid for it, and then a few weeks later got a call and said, hey, congratulations, you got picked. I'm like, oh crap. Like, first of all, I didn't think it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Second, like, now how do I pay for it? Like,
yeah.
So I did some unconventional tactics to pay for it. I used GoFundMe. I called a few contacts of mine who are business people, and I'm like, hey, would you sponsor? Like, I'm trying to do this. And thankfully, Leadership Lafayette, it's on its 36th class, so it's been active, I think, since 1987. And so a lot of people know about it. Anybody in town that's a business owner that's been active in the community for a while knows about it. So it wasn't hard for me to explain why I needed the money. But so that's just my little side part.
Well,
so
I didn't even know I didn't realize how big of a deal Leadership Lafayette actually is, right? I mean, I'm brand new and people are saying, oh, my goal is just to meet people. And hey, if you want to get involved, look at this organization, right? Leadership Institute. And it's kind of like, okay, I was like, I'll do that. But as I'm telling people, hey, yeah, I applied, like, oh, good luck. I haven't been selected in like 3 years running, kind of stuff. And
so you've actually had people say that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that it was more of like prepping me to say like, it's very likely you're not going to get in, right? Just want to kind of set expectations. And I'm like, I'm just clueless. I'm like, oh, yeah, if I get in, great. If not, oh, well, you move on to the next thing and you keep on going. And so I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the selection committee thought when my application came across.
I would love to know whenever they saw my application, like what is this guy thinking? Like, what is all this? I tried my best to answer it as educated as I could, and because I was like, and this is for the elite people of Lafayette, like whatever. Sure enough, I got in, and I'm enjoying it. We are probably about halfway through.
I think so.
Yeah.
By the way, are you going to try to do Leadership Louisiana? Is that a thing that you...
Oh, my God. I don't know.
I feel like if you go that route, that almost like you're going to run for some political office.
I know.
That's kind of how I see it.
I know. I feel like if you run for Leadership Louisiana, you're destined to be like a congressman or a senator at that point. Like, I feel like a lot of people that have been in Leadership Lafayette have become... some type of elective office. I mean, not everybody, obviously. Some of them are business owners and they stay that business owner indefinitely. But like, there's a lot of elected officials that have taken the class, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out to be an elected official. Like, what? Ugh. It's just weird because the duties behind that. Anyway, that's another story. That's another story. But yeah, you're right. It feels like if I go that route, what am I doing this for? Ultimately, is to learn about the community and how to improve it, and how do you do that? You become an elected official to make a change. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I do like the idea. I don't even know who told me about it, but having a regional leadership. I didn't even know there was a Leadership Youngsville.
Yeah, it's brand new.
New Iberia, and and I'm like, oh, that would be cool to kind of just have more of a Acadiana leadership thing, and maybe that would be the next step coming up, but.
So like regional, like multi-parish.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then, good segue to this question. I didn't have it planned, but so when we're talking about Acadiana, what is considered Acadiana to you?
I don't know.
You don't know? Like what, when somebody says, hey, tell me like what's Acadiana? Like, tell me about Acadiana. Like, what do you tell people?
Oh, so I talk a lot about the, so I'll give you an example. So essentially I became a virtual financial advisor overnight by moving here, right? All clients were Houston and Austin and just a sprinkle in Dallas, but they asked me that too. And we're talking about, hey, I go visit you, come visit me, right? And let's kind of do a home and home, right? So I talk about the festivals of the different times of the year and of course the food and, I guess really I stick on those 2 points, but I talk about my personal experiences with, depending on what you want to do, there's a spot in Acadiana that probably is going to meet your need and we'll kind of make a weekend out of it or something. But yeah, that's a good question.
So I guess to maybe help you out a little bit, like what parishes are considered Acadiana? Like whenever you think about the parishes around us, because you got Lafayette, which is typically...
Well, I know there are 9, right? That make up?
There are 9 that One Acadiana recognizes.
Maybe that's where I got it from.
Yeah. So
is that like a sore subject or something here?
No. It's not. Okay. It's not a sore subject. It's just an interesting one because everybody has a different opinion on it or a different thought process, and a lot of it does stem with One Acadiana and the kind of the meaning behind what they do. But or maybe if it's not a One Acadiana, it's, everybody calls Lafayette the heart of Cajun country. And so when you think about it, everything that touches Lafayette Parish would be considered Acadiana. Like, because where do you see the Acadiana flag being flown? Is it Baton Rouge?
No.
No. Is it Lake Charles? Weirdly enough, no. But Lake Charles, Calcasieu Parish, is technically considered part of Acadiana.
Interesting.
Yeah. But if you think about the Acadiana flag, you mostly see the Acadiana flag flown closest to Lafayette. So obviously in Lafayette Parish, in the city of Lafayette, you see the Acadiana flag everywhere. It's almost like the state flag. It's flown here next to the state flag. But the further out you get from Lafayette, the less Acadiana flags you see. I grew up an hour north in Evangeline Parish. I had never seen an Acadiana flag flown there. And it's part of Acadiana. Evangeline Parish is. And it's also, Evangeline Parish is part of the 9 parishes that One Acadiana recognizes as their core parishes, but not an Acadiana flag. And it's weird. So one day I got to looking, I was like, what is Acadiana? Like, if I'm going to define Acadiana for me, what is it? Because I think it's the closest parishes to Lafayette. But what really is it? And so according to I don't know if it's UL or LSU where I got the information, and I can probably just Google it now. I have a computer in front of me, but for sake of time, the source that I read said that the state of Louisiana recognizes 22 parishes as Acadiana. And some of them are not what you would consider Acadiana. St. Charles Parish, which is pretty much the parish right next to Orleans Parish. Would you consider anything near New Orleans? Exactly. No. But to that point, I guess, of the 22 parishes, it goes all the way to Calcasieu Parish, which is Lake Charles, to St. Charles Parish, and all the way up as high as Avoyelles Parish, which is Marksville area.
So the only thing I've heard of Avoyelles, is that how you said it?
Avoyelles, yeah.
Avoyelles Parish, is that whenever you ask anybody else in the state where they're from, like Avoyelles Parish is very proud of Avoyelles Parish. I've heard that. I don't even know if that's true, but
I haven't heard that. But yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you where I heard that. But if it's not that they're from a particular city, they're from a parish. I don't know if that's true.
It could be. You probably talk to more people from Avoyelles Parish than I do.
I'm telling you, I'm kind of a wanderer. I find new people and kind of talk about their lives and what they like about where they live. And
so that's what I love about you is
I'm curious.
You're a yes man, and you're curious enough to where you want to learn. I mean, plus you've made this your home for the past year, and you're trying to figure out more about the place you call home and all that good stuff. So you're exploring. And it's interesting to see someone in the exploration stage of their home, because I've been living here since 2010. There is still a lot that I need to explore, but with developing Lafayette, I've done a lot of driving and I've seen a lot. There's still a lot of places though that I have not been to. A lot of cultural significant places that I haven't been to. I've been to the Tabasco facility. I've been there to Avery Island, but there's several places that I'd like to visit. I'd like to visit where Steen syrup is made. Have you had Steen syrup before?
No, I have not. I've heard of syrup from cane sugar.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Oh, that's what it is?
Steen syrup is cane syrup, yeah.
By the way, I hate that. I don't know what the fascination with that is. I actually tried it at Victor's in New Iberia.
Okay, so you tried Steen syrup.
Yes, and I thought it was awful.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? My dad used to be all about the Steen syrup, and as a teenager, I was like, it's old man syrup. I don't want it.
Yeah.
However, in my 30s now, I said, you know what? I need to figure out what the fascination is with Steen syrup. And how is this institution still alive? Like, who's keeping them here? So one day I said, you know what? I want to try it on a biscuit. I don't want to try it on pancakes because I feel like pancakes is reserved for maple syrup or maple flavored syrup, rather. Because if you get real maple syrup, it's expensive. So one day I just said, you know what? I'm going to try it on a biscuit. And I was like, oh my God, this is different. I like the combination. It's different. It's hard to explain. And it goes good with like salty stuff too. So like, they have a boudin king cake, and they put steamed syrup on the boudin king cake because the salty savoriness of the boudin and the steams kind of go together. So if you ever want to try steams in a more, I guess, relatable scenario, and such as this conversation, try it on a biscuit, or something boudin related.
I'll try it again. Yeah, we'll see. I'll give it one more chance, but yeah.
And you may not be a syrup guy, but so
I'm not
going
a boudin
back,
guy.
huh?
I'm not a boudin guy.
Oh, there you go.
You know, so
I don't like the skin of boudin. I can't sucking on a boudin. I ain't doing it. It's just, that's not. I'm not biting it. I will eat a boudin hamburger. We don't really have that here in Lafayette. Lake Charles has boudin hamburgers, and it is literally a bun with mustard and boudin on it, like without the casing. I've eaten that. But just knowing what's in boudin sometimes keeps me from wanting to eat it because...
Well, what's odd is somebody comes up and they'll say, oh, but this is different. And I'll try it every single time because I'm curious. And every single time I'm like, yeah, no, that's...
It's not different enough.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But
yeah, so steam syrup, I'd love to go visit the facility there. Jack Miller's barbecue sauce. I don't know if you've ever had Jack Miller's barbecue sauce. It's made in Ville Platte, literally pretty much my hometown. And I'd love to go to that facility, and I think I will. I want to interview the owners or the founders and just kind of learn a little bit more about that. So for me, exploration is more or less in that realm of like the foods and how the foods kind of help shape the area. Like it's fascinating. But have you ever been on a swamp tour?
No.
Okay.
So I was actually curious. I think in this last leadership day, they were talking about kayaking. And I forgot. It was either, was it Bayou Teche? That there's like a big group maybe that goes and I kind of want to do do that. I think that would be
kayaking
really cool.
On the Vermilion? Or the Bayou, is it Bayou Teche?
Is it part of the Teche or Vermilion? I don't know I forgot which one he said, but apparently there's like...
I'm going to get flack for that.
A group of people that go and do it. That would be really neat.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to do kayaking. I'm just scared that I'll flip over, but that's my personal thing. But yeah, so swamp tours, they're big airboat. I interviewed a guy, Ben Pierce, who's a swamp photographer. He's also the executive director of that company, McGee Swamp Tours, and it looks super fun. You get on a big airboat, the ones with the loud stuff. You have to have the headphones on to kind of make your ears not bust. But they offer them there, and just right there in St. Martinville Parish. And you go on the Atchafalaya and you take an airboat tour and you see gators and all that good stuff. So if you're looking to explore, that's probably a good thing to do there. Well, cool, man. So what ultimately are you hoping to get out of being a part of Leadership Lafayette, and what do you plan to do with the experience outside of the class once it wraps up?
Yeah, so we haven't had education day. That's kind of one of the biggest things. And moving from Texas to here, that was with two young kids, by the way, who aren't school age, but you're looking towards that future, is what is education going to look like when they're that age? And you hear all the bad things, right, about education here. And so I'm kind of wondering is where I can help out in that area to make sure that my kids have a great education experience here. So selfishly, that's probably it. Afterwards, right now, it's just kind of, like you said, learning. I don't know what I don't know. And when I figure it out, then I can, of course, get involved a little bit more. So I don't know what that is yet. I have gotten involved with downtown.
Yeah.
Which that's just a pure love downtown kind of play. You know, I love what they're doing, love, you know, what they're adding to downtown, and the plans for the next 10 years are just phenomenal. Even next year, right? So seems like there's a lot of things in the works. And
so are you on the DLU? Or is that where you're
the DLU board?
Yeah.
So right now, I think I was just kind of voluntold to do fundraising, and I wonder if that was just because of my experience. But it's been awesome. It's been great to hear people talk about downtown from when they were kids of we never went downtown and we don't go downtown to now they're like, okay, they're doing some great things. And so I'm very excited to be a part of that. But Leadership Lafayette is kind of like my more, I guess, serious kind of what are the issues that we're facing. And so, you know, you have your fun stuff, then you have your, you know, stuff that, you know, are a little bit more in depth that you want to see change.
Well, I agree with there that the education side is definitely one that Louisiana has literally nothing else but to do is to go up. Right. It's from there because I think we're consistently one of the last places in the entire country as far as education, and I don't really know why. I don't understand it, and I'm pretty sure if I really wanted to know and learn more, I can dig deeper, and it's probably rooted a lot of it in politics and all that good stuff. Typically, that's what it is, and I try to stay away from that because politics is just muddy and gets nasty. But yeah, man, I hope to see big things from you, and I look forward to obviously continuing the class because it's not over with yet. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what you do after the class is over, obviously, maybe even before. And hopefully, if there's something that I can be a part of that you're a part of, I would love to help out where I can.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what the rest of the class as a whole does.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talk, I mean, everybody says the greatest class ever, right? But I think the looking at what impact you have, I think that we can do some really good things with the people that we have in our class.
Yeah. Going back to elected officials, do you have anybody in mind in our class that you feel like is going to be an elected official? Like there's a couple.
Gosh.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to name drop.
Yeah, I don't know if I do either. But yeah, that's very exciting. I get to go through my first election cycle here in Louisiana.
That's right.
So yeah, that's coming up.
That's coming up real quick in October.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
October 14th, I think.
I think so.
Oh man.
So everybody keeps on telling me, get ready. It gets crazy.
It does. But that's everywhere, really. Mudslinging happens. But obviously, Louisiana is known for its less than pleasant political kind of arena. It should be interesting to see in our own city and parish how that goes because we're electing I don't want to say the election for mayor president is coming up.
Right.
And the last time it got a little squirrely. And so I'm curious to see how it is going to be this time.
Yeah, so am I.
All right, Eli. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, man. If there's anything that we missed out on, I apologize. But I think we got a good bit covered here. Is there anything that you felt like we didn't touch on?
Not at all. I just need people to text me saying, hey, here's what we're doing in Youngsville, Broussard, the surrounding areas, wherever that is. Scott, let me know. We'll be there.
All right, right. Well, your contact information is linked on our caption of the video here. So if you want to reach out to Eli and say, hey, you got to go here, you got to do this, his contact form's on there. So with that, we will let you guys go. Eli, pleasure to have you on, man. It was good talking with you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. And if you want to hear the audio version of this podcast, hopefully it should have it up this week. I got one to edit before this, and then I have this one. But if you want to listen to it ahead of time, obviously you are listening to it, so just rewind it. I'm showing my age there. Rewind. Oh, my God. Just start it over. Anyway, that's it. We're out. Eli, have a good one.
You too.